Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. Ignore the giant red bump on my nose because I'm turning into Rudolph, I guess, because it's the curse of the corona. Anyway, I have a Things Like Goosebumps book haul to do today. I had a couple of Goosebumps books come in, but I have some more coming in, so I wanted to wait off on showing those to you in another book haul later on. I know I just did a book haul yesterday, early in the morning. I uploaded it last night, but it was early in the morning when I recorded it yesterday on Friday, Good Friday. And the thing is, I ended up going to the post office and finally getting everything that I was supposed to get in the mail. Two things I'm really excited for, but the third is coming. I want to wait and show you those things in that video, so that's going to be coming up sometime this week, God willing. But I have some really cool stuff I want to show you here that I got. Again, this is a Thing Like Goosebumps, or Things Like Goosebumps book haul. It's kind of where I get things that are kind of kids' books and middle grade books and stuff that are kind of horror based. Some are a lot of Goosebumps knockoffs, not in this particular haul, but there's a lot of different stuff out there that is kind of in that same regard I like. So I'm hoping that I can find some really cool stuff here to show you that maybe you'll find some interest in. The first book here is one that I've never read. It's called Dead Time Stories. It's called The Witching Game by Annette and Gina Cascone, or Casconi. I'm not really sure how to say that Italian name, but this sounded cool. Apparently a girl gets a mirror, and I think it's her grandmother or mother? Yeah, her mother says that they have to clean it up and then put it in her room, and that the girl will end up liking it a lot more. And, I don't know, haunted mirror stories can be cool. There's films out there like Oculus that I didn't like all that much, at least back in the day. I haven't seen Oculus since it came out on DVD, so I don't know if it's any good or not. Maybe I've changed, maybe I like it more now. But I always loved the Kiefer Sutherland film Mirrors. I always thought that was pretty creepy, so... And Goosebumps has a lot of mirror stuff, like Let's Get Invisible, which is really good. I love that book. So you have some cool stuff. Dead Time Stories was always kind of like a 90s property, from what I understand. It was like a knockoff Goosebumps thing, but also its own kind of thing, kind of like Erie, Indiana, which a lot of people love that as well. So I hope it's good. I hope it's good. If you've read the book, or read any of these books that I show you in the video, please let me know down below what you think about them, without spoiling them for me, please. Because I don't like to be spoiled. This book is not so much just a book aimed at young readers. It's kind of just for anybody, but I also said here on the channel too that I want to read short story compilations and short story books. There's a lot of like Halloween themed books out there, Christmas horror themed books out there. This one has some writers in here I think you'll recognize that I thought was really cool. I'm a big horror fan, so there's a lot of people in here that I know that a lot of people aren't going to know, but people that I would recommend as well. It's called Scary, Stories That Will Make You Scream. This book has so many people. Of course, the first name up there is R.L. Stine. Yes, the creator of Goosebumps. Roald Dahl, the creator of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach. He has a ghost stories book too. I'm assuming that's one of those stories that are in here. These are stories that people already wrote. This isn't like, as far as I know, standalone stories that people wrote just for this release, as far as I know. Stephen King is in here with Here There Be Tigers, I think is the story that's in here, from what I understand. I know there was Ramsey Campbell, I think. Was it Ramsey Campbell? Pretty sure. Yeah, Ramsey Campbell was in here. Robert Bloch, who wrote Psycho, you know, who created Psycho. He also wrote one of my favorite films, Straight Jacket, from William Castle. Ray Bradbury has a story in here. It's The Man Upstairs. Joan Aiken, Dead Language Master. Ambrose Bierce. I feel like I've heard the name somewhere on the internet. I don't think I've ever read this person. Baby Tramp is the name. By the way, that Roald Dahl story is Spotty Powder. I don't know what that is. But these stories are kind of short. They're like 10 pages apiece. Zena Henderson, her story is Hush. Isaac Asimov is also in here, by the way, with the 13th Day of Christmas, which is interesting. It's kind of like the 12 Days of Christmas song. Leon Garfield, The Restless Ghost. I've never heard of that guy or that story. William F. Nolan, Something Nasty. Richard Matheson is also in here, by the way, the guy who created I Am Legend, The Legend of Hell House. I love Richard Matheson. I Am Legend is incredible. Please don't just focus on the terrible Will Smith movie and the Charlton Heston film that's not really all that great, or the Vincent Price film. Just read the book. I Am Legend's one of the best stories you could ever read. I think it should be taught in school, personally, because the kind of message that's there in that book, Richard Matheson is amazing. He's one of the original Twilight Zone and Star Trek writers, too, so guy's got a lot under his belt. Drink My Red Blood is the story that he wrote, by the way. Jerome Bigsby, It's a Good Life. I don't know what that is or who that is. The R.L. Stine story in here is called The Spell, and I don't know if that was written for this book. It might have been, because R.L. Stine doesn't really do like any kind of short story book releases or anything like that, as far as I know. Maybe for like Goosebumps and like Fear Street type stuff sometimes, but not really for Fear Street, mostly just with Goosebumps every once in a while. So I'm curious what scary stories that will make you scream is going to be like. I'm curious if this is any of a decent book. If you've read this book, please let me know down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Stein being in it is enough for me to buy it. And King, I used to be a big fan of, and honestly, his political views and his constant spewing of his stupidity of political views has put me in a place where I can't stand the guy. And for on top of that, his books are just a bunch of rambling messes most of the time. So I've just kind of grown out of Stephen King over time. So I'm hoping that story, There Be Tigers, will be pretty decent. I don't know. Maybe it will be. Maybe it won't be. As you can see, by the way, today I'm in fluff mode because my hair is slowly climbing up to heaven. It's just not going anywhere, man. I need a haircut. Please. Please open up the stores again. The barbershops. Now this book here, I'm kind of disappointed with. I was hoping that it would be a little bit more of something else that I owned. It's called 6 Tales of Mystery and Imagination, Edgar Allan Poe. And it's 6 different stories that he wrote. And my biggest problem with this is I assumed that it was kind of one of those books that you would see at like Michael's, the craft store, where it'll be like a copy of The Call of the Wild. And it won't actually be Call of the Wild, it'll be like a shortened, kind of middle grade version of that to try to censor some things and stuff, which I'm fine with. I don't mind that, for the most part. I think in an artistic way it bothers me for censorship and shortening a story and shortening the value of a story, making kind of a watered down story the way it's told with a generic random writer on the planet. Yeah, that kind of annoys me in some respects, but in a lot of ways I kind of don't mind at the same time because I think it exposes young readers to powerful messages in literature like Moby Dick and stuff like that. If there is a big message in Moby Dick. I've never read Moby Dick. I don't plan on reading Moby Dick. Just saying. Just classical literature in general usually has some good stuff out there. I thought this would be kind of what I also have that's a comic book graphic novel adaptation of like 6 or 7 different Edgar Allan Poe short stories that I haven't reviewed here on the channel, but I have it on my shelf over here as a matter of fact, and I loved it. I thought it was one of the best books I've ever read. I love the adaptations. I love the artwork in those stories for Edgar Allan Poe's stories. They kind of kept like the dialogue in the stories the same, but the adaptation was beautiful, man, just immaculate. I assumed that since this was clearly directed at younger viewers, in my opinion, it looks like it's more of a middle grade audience type look to it. Maybe I'm wrong for that, but it kind of looks like it. It's basically just the straight up Edgar Allan Poe stories from what I can tell. I don't know if some of the so-called racism at the time is still in here. I say so-called because it was racist, but it's back in the day. Everybody was racist back then for the most part, so yeah, it's kind of not fair. It is, but it's not at the same time. I kind of assumed that this would be kind of shortened down tales and kind of easier to understand stories. I like a lot of Edgar Allan Poe. I don't love Edgar Allan Poe. Does that make sense? Like, I love his poetry. I love The Raven. I love The Telltale Heart. And his poetry is really good. His stories are extremely long. So I get kind of burnt out sometimes. His short stories a lot of the time could be straight up novels from that time period, like with H.P. Lovecraft, you know. So I'm kind of disappointed with this book. I didn't expect it to be what it was, but you know, when you buy a lot of books, and I mean like a lot on eBay, a lot of books, as in you buy 6 or 7 at one time in a big one user seller guy selling you like 8 books at one time, which is what this whole set was of what I bought today. When you have that, you're going to have a dud every once in a while. So this is kind of the one that I don't really consider a dud because it's Edgar Allan Poe, but yeah, it's kind of one that I was kind of disappointed when I saw what it was, what it actually was, and what I hoped it was going to be. It's not. So anyway, there's 3 more books here. I'm very excited for these 2 books. This first one is called Super Scary Stories for Sleepovers by Q.L. Pierce and illustrated by Dwight Bean. There is a mummy on that cover. This is kind of a throwback knockoff type thing of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which I love to death. And Alvin Schwartz is like my biggest influence on my writing. He and R.L. Stine. And this is kind of that same idea. Stories that are like 5 pages long, sometimes less than that. Creepy artwork. I think the artwork's mostly decent in here from what I can tell from just kind of a quick glance through without spoiling too many things for myself. And the sequel book, I don't know how many of these there are, but this is the sequel book, Even More Scary Stories for Sleepovers by Q.L. Pierce, illustrated by Dwight Bean once again. I don't know what that thing is. I don't really care. I just hope the stories are good. That's all that really matters to me. The artwork, from a quick glance, kind of looks a little bit better in here. I think there's only like 11 stories in here from what I understand, too. About 120 pages long per book. Very thin. Very, very thin books. The last one in here, I'm kind of surprised. I've never heard of this before. It popped up, and I feel like I have vaguely seen reference on Reddit or something to this effect of this book. It's called Fright Time. And this one includes 3 stories. Night Creatures is the first one, Who Am I is the second one, and the third one is Cemetery School. And I thought it looked really kind of cool, so I wanted to pick this up just to try it out. It looks like it's kind of a middle grade thing with the kid on the cover here. I don't know if this is aimed at a younger audience, like a middle grade audience from the 80s or something. It's clearly 80s artwork on this cover, which I love, by the way. That bestial monster looking thing looks amazing back there. I love that. I don't know what to think of this, so I'm hoping it's good. I'm hoping it's good. I think each of these stories, the book itself is like about 192 pages, so I would say each of these stories are probably about 60 or 70 pages apiece. Maybe a little bit less than that, somewhere in there. The font is about the size of a Goosebumps book, even though the book is taller than a Goosebumps book. So hopefully it's pretty good. I'm hoping this will be a solid read and something kind of a nice little pleasant surprise. Maybe I could find more of these at some point if they're good. Again, if you've read this or any of these other books that I have in the little haul to show you here, please let me know down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about them. I'd love to hear if they're any good, if you recommend them, if you recommend certain ones over other ones, if you read all of them. I want to know. Just don't spoil anything for me. That's all I ask. So that is today's book haul of things like Goosebumps. I'm trying to find some stuff out here to talk about that'll be different. Like right now, I'm kind of taking a little bit of a break from Goosebumps. I want to read something different. I'm going to read a thing like Goosebumps, a book that I picked up a while back, like around my birthday. A book that I'm actually kind of excited to read because it has kind of this weird Goosebumps feel to it that a lot of people have picked up on. It's a newer book series. It's actually independent produced, which I'm excited about. But the first book I hope to end up reading and have a review for here soon. It's not a long book by any means. But I will have a couple of Goosebumps book reviews up for you before I end up going into that book. So hopefully I can get them recorded tonight and uploaded tonight. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm going to try. But even so, guys, I'm going to take some time to read some things like Goosebumps for a little bit. Of course, the summertime's coming around. We're going to have the big Mummy books from Goosebumps to read. There's a lot of those, like 5 or 6 of those books I want to read. Everything from the original series to the Horrorland series to the Slappy World series. There's tons of Mummy books. So I'm going to try to read all those, you know, and do a ranking video on those at some point, God willing. But also the Stay Cheese and Die books. I haven't read those before. I've seen the TV episodes of the first 2, and there's like 3 of those now. So I have to, at some point, catch up to those as well. There's a lot to think about what to read next and what to kind of keep in order for what I want to read and what I want to talk about here on the channel. I just like to keep the variety out there a little bit, but also maintain the Goosebumps feel of the channel and the kind of focus on Goosebumps and whatnot. But things like Goosebumps are always fun too. You can always have some cool things to talk about with these. But anyway, what are your thoughts, guys, on all this stuff? Put your thoughts and comments down below. Thank you so much for being patient with my rambling self and for dealing with the red Rudolph nose of mine that I have now. I don't know if it's from a mask that I have to wear at work all day long from this new law that's happening in Virginia. Amongst the companies, pretty much not really a law, but policies within companies now, which is stupid. But I don't know if it's that or what, but something's bothering my nose, and I feel sad about it. Anyway, thank you guys. Happy Easter. Today is Easter as I upload this, and may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today, and goodbye.